Hello, my name is Dylan Lockwood. I am the online content editor at Z Prime. I'm here at the ACL Moody Theater in Austin, Texas for ETS19. We've got thought leaders from all over the energy industry to talk about issues and solutions. I've got with me Tom Willie, he's CEO of Blue Pillar. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
How have you been enjoying the conference so far?
It's been great. Some real interesting conversations, and we're just getting started.
Tom, the ETS19 theme is Love Your Energy. What does that mean to you, and how does that apply to the work you do at Blue Pillar?
Yeah, so this is, to be quite honest, this is my first ETS. We've had previous Blue Pillar employees come, but Love Your Energy really spoke to me personally, primarily because Blue Pillar has been focused really for the last decade on the largest commercial industrial customers and how their energy needs and energy desires are changing over time. And so this idea of Love Your Energy, which really speaks to for us, speaks to the consumer, utility, energy service provider conversation, was something that I was really intrigued by and interested in, and that's why I'm here this year.
What are some of the trends you've been noticing, and how does that apply to the future of the energy space?
Yeah, so the two big trends that we're seeing is this intersection between what a customer is looking to accomplish and this new energy service provider. And we talked in our podcast the last time, Blue Pillar never uses the word utility any longer. We really refer to almost all of these players as energy service providers in the same way that you would have an internet service provider. This idea that they're evolving into something that will be more energy services versus a utility, a commodity electricity provider, is something that we believe is going to happen, and the customers themselves want it. They want to change. They want to become more efficient, more resilient, more sustainable, and so they're looking for help. They can't do it themselves, and so that intersection is something that we see happening in a big way. You know, the other thing that we see, the second thing that we see, is this digital transformation, and of course it's happening on the utility side. And the last 20 years really have been about grid digital transformation. We think the next 20 years is going to be about behind the meter digital transformation, and how all of the energy related equipment and systems in the buildings that we walk in and work in every day are going to interact with the grid and interact with the utilities.
So at the end of everything, what are you hoping that the utilities most take away from the talks had here today?
Well, I think from our point of view, the biggest thing we want them to take away is that they have to look at the consumer as a customer and not a ratepayer. And I think those terminologies have changed quite a bit, and you're seeing them talk about it in that language. But Steve Wesley from the Wesley Group talked a big part about that this morning, about how they need to be thinking about how that customer is going to change their behavior and cannibalize themselves ultimately if you're a utility. And so that conversation around, you have to look at what they expect. They're not innocent bystanders in this conversation any longer. They're active, engaged participants, and the utilities are going to have to work through that and understand how their strategies need to adapt to that.
What are you most looking forward to over the rest of the conference?
So I have my panel tomorrow, and we're going to talk a lot about this in customer and energy service provider engagement. So
I've heard there's a really cool moderator on that panel.
You are moderating again. We're like old friends now at this point in time.
Oh my, this is embarrassing.
Yeah. So we have Eric Bradley from Shell, on that panel, who I think is going to be a really interesting perspective from an energy service provider side, and then Blue Pillar obviously will give you some guidance on what C&I customers and the actual customer wants, and I'm sure you're going to be able to talk about that. We're going to talk about IoT and how that plays a role in this. So I'm looking forward to just participating in that, but really seeing the rest of the speakers. I mean, you've got some phenomenal keynote speakers on the big stage over the next 2 days that I think are going to be really, really intriguing.
Tom, you mentioned IoT there. What role does Blue Pillar see that playing?
Yeah, it's a great question. For us, what we see is this situation where, if you look at over the next 20 years in the energy space, the conversation is all about distributed energy. It's all about how the role of the consumer site is going to interact with either utility or the energy service providers in our minds. And so when you look at that customer site, the very first thing that you're going to realize is that every single new energy service, every single new energy resource, every change in their behavior is going to require data or control over something that exists or something that's being added to their facility. And so Blue Pillar is very much focused on how does that data come out of that facility, and then how do we make it usable by any service provider, any application provider, for the benefit of the consumer or for the energy service provider themselves. But that is ultimately what the industry calls IoT. If you think about, IoT is in essence getting data or getting control over devices that generally don't speak very easily. And that's really what Blue Pillar does. We build networks behind the meter to connect all of the facility-based energy things and systems so that people can use that data and control for new energy services.
Thank you very much, Tom.